All right, let's dive right in, shall we?
Yeah, let's get to it.
This deep dive is all about the Brooklyn Fantasy Basketball Association, the BFBA, and we've got a lot to cover. We're talking
Bit.
standings,
Yeah.
scores from Week 7, and even a sneak peek at those Week 8 games that are still in progress. So by the time we're done here, you'll be dropping BFBA knowledge like a straight-up fantasy pro.
No doubt about it. And, there have been some serious shakeups in the league this week. Felton's South Korea Soul Brothers are our team of the week. That's actually their first time earning that title this season, so
Pretty impressive, huh?
definitely impressive. And we'll be digging into what's fueling their success and whether they can keep this momentum going as we head towards playoffs in March.
Okay, before we even get there, I have to say, I'm kind of blown away by how much buzz the BFBA podcast is generating.
Oh, for sure.
We got a shout out from ESPN. Stephen A. Smith is weighing in. And even Gilbert Arenas from the No Chill podcast is tuning in.
Yeah. It's wild. But, the conversations with the Commissioner series is definitely a huge draw. Like hearing owners like Randy Arias from BFBA Mob break down their strategies, that's pure gold. And get this, our next guest is Kyle Knapp, the owner of Trader Danny. That episode drops on December 16th.
Oh, I can't wait for that one.
Yeah.
But hold on. Before we get too deep into the individual matchups, let's rewind a bit and set the scene. Remember, only the top 8 teams in the BFBA clinch a playoff spot. And as the season intensifies, each win becomes absolutely critical.
Uh-huh.
So where did we leave off in Week 7?
Right.
Well, Donald, the mastermind behind Brooklyn Vikings Valhalla, he was holding strong at the top. A 5-1 record, tied with Damian and his evil empire.
Exactly. And right behind them, we had a 4-way tie for third place.
Yeah.
Randy's BFBA Mob, Cedric from NY Mindset of Fighters, Felton with those Soul Brothers, and Delonte representing the Sham Gods, all at 4-2.
Wow, so tight at the top.
Super tight. Valerie, the owner of Valor Morgulis, and Steven from Too Legit to Quit were right on their heels at 3-3. So even at this stage in the season, things were already getting pretty intense.
Yeah, it was anyone's game at that point. But Week 8 is where things got really interesting. Donald's Vikings, they're still clinging to that top spot now with the 6-1 record. But Cedric and his NY Mindset of Fighters, they've surged into a 3-way tie for second place with a 5-2 record, joining Damian's Evil Empire and Randy's BFBA Mob.
Oh, wow. It's a big jump for Cedric. He's known for being super meticulous, almost scientific with his approach to player stats, and he's always making those shrewd moves on the waiver wire.
Oh, yeah. The waiver wire can be a game changer, especially in fantasy basketball. For those who aren't familiar, think of it as a pool of free agents that owners can scoop up, to replace those injured players, or just to fill gaps in their roster. It's all about anticipating what you're going to need and snapping up those hidden gems before anyone else notices them.
And Cedric's a master at that. But let's not forget about Felton's Soul Brothers, also sitting pretty at 5-2. They're proving that their Team of the Week title was no fluke.
Right. They're the real deal.
Absolutely. Their performance has been steadily improving, and they're becoming a force to be reckoned with.
Okay, so we've got Cedric and Felton on the rise. But on the other hand, Delonte's Sham Gods, they've dropped down to 6th place. Now they're at a 4-3 record.
Yeah, a tough week for Delonte. It's a reminder that in this league, anything can happen. One bad week, a couple of unexpected losses, and suddenly you're scrambling to stay in playoff contention.
You can't get comfortable, that's for sure. And now we've got a newcomer making waves in the playoff race, Holly, the owner of Brooklyn Stoop Kids.
Oh yeah, Holly's been killing it.
They've fought their way to a 4-3 record, proving that even teams that started off slow can rally and make a serious run.
No doubt about it. Holly's been playing fearlessly, making those bold trades, taking risks that are definitely paying off.
They're one to watch, that's for sure. Now, the battle for those final playoff spots is getting absolutely nail-biting. We've got Kyle from Trader Danny, Steven from Too Legit to Quit, and Travis from DC Hustlers, all tied up at 3-4.
Oh, man.
Every win, every single point, could be the difference between making the playoffs and watching from the sidelines.
It all comes down to the wire. It's the kind of pressure that separates the strategic masterminds from the casual players.
Right. Those owners are facing some serious decisions right now.
Do they go all in on those risky trades, or do they play it safe and hope for the best?
Tough choices. Now, before we get into the ongoing Week 8 drama, let's take a quick trip down memory lane and break down some of the key results from Week 7. We saw some major upsets, some games that came down to the wire.
Yeah, it was a wild week.
Keeping everyone on the edge of their seats.
For sure. One of the most talked about matchups was Felton's Soul Brothers going head-to-head with Malcolm's Nether Chosen Warriors. Remember, Malcolm's team has been struggling this season, still searching for their first win.
Yeah, and going up against a team that's on fire like Felton's, you'd expect a bloodbath, right?
Exactly. But what's interesting about this matchup wasn't just the score. Felton won with a whopping 1798.3 points to Malcolm's 1065. But it's how they did it. Felton strategically targeted players who excel in categories like assists and steals, categories where Malcolm was weaker.
So it wasn't just about racking up points, it was about exploiting those specific categories to maximize their advantage.
Absolutely. It shows you how important it is to understand the nuances of the scoring system and how those seemingly minor categories can have a huge impact on the final outcome.
Yeah, it's next level strategic thinking.
Yeah.
All right, another game that had everyone buzzing was the showdown between Holly's Brooklyn Stoop Kids and Damien's The Evil Empire. Going into that matchup, Damien was the clear favorite, but Holly pulled off an incredible upset, winning by just 5.8 points.
It was a close one. I think everyone underestimated Holly's grit and determination. They were down by a significant margin at the beginning of the week, but they managed to claw their way back with some clutch performances from their players.
Classic, it ain't over till it's over situation. And in fantasy basketball, where every game can swing on a single three-pointer or a last-minute steal, that's absolutely true.
Couldn't agree more. Holly capitalized on a few key injuries on Damien's team, picked up some valuable replacements on the waiver wire.
Oh, nice.
It was a classic example of how strategic moves and a bit of luck can totally turn the tide in your favor.
Yeah, sometimes you need a little bit of both. Those Week 7 results really set the stage for an explosive Week 8. We've got some potential nail-biters on our hands, and I'm already glued to the live scoring updates.
You too. It's going to be a wild ride. So let's dive into these Week 8 matchups, shall we? Because there are a few that could really shake things up, like Cedric, our second-place contender, going up against Delonte and his sham gods.
Yeah.
Remember, Delonte slips down to 6th place, so this is a crucial game for both of them.
Absolutely. This one has major implications for playoff seeding. Cedric currently has a slight lead, 268.7 points to Delonte's 254.1. But with a few days left in the matchup, it's still anyone's game.
Right. And what I find really interesting here is the contrast in their approaches.
Yep.
You know, Cedric, as we talked about, he's very meticulous, almost scientific, you could say, in his approach.
Right.
Delonte, on the other hand, he's more of a gut-feeling player. He's not afraid to make those bold moves based purely on instinct, even if it goes against conventional wisdom.
So we've got a clash of styles, which makes it even more exciting to watch. Now, another matchup with sky-high stakes. Is Damien's Evil Empire taking on Brad's Beaufort Bombers?
Oh, yeah. Damien has a commanding lead right now.
Yeah.
116.4 points to Brad's 56.6.
Yeah.
But, you know, let's not count Brad out just yet.
Right.
He's known for being a bit of a comeback kid, able to pull out some unexpected wins, especially when his back is against the wall.
He's got that knack, for finding those under-the-radar players, the ones who end up having huge weeks.
He does. He did.
It's like he's got a secret weapon, some kind of crystal ball that shows him who's about to break out.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And speaking of potential upsets, get this. Randy from BFBA Mob, he's currently dominating Donald, the league leader, with a score of 329.9 to 165.1.
Hold on. Are you serious? Donald, the guy who's been at the top of the leaderboard all season, he's on the verge of getting trounced by Randy.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And this is why we love the BFBA.
Right.
It's unpredictable, it's full of twists and turns, and any given week can completely change the narrative.
Wow. So if Randy can hold on to this lead, he'd be tied for first place with Cedric and Damien.
Yep.
Talk about a power shift.
Big time.
This is why I'm constantly refreshing the score updates, just waiting to see how these final days of Week 8 unfold.
Yeah, it's like watching a thriller movie. You have no idea what's going to happen next.
Exactly.
And let's not forget about the other matchups that are heating up. We've got Malcolm from Nether Chosen Warriors facing Steven from Legit 2 Quit.
Right.
Malcolm's still searching for his first win of the season. And going up against Steven, who's in that tight race for a playoff spot, it's a tough challenge for sure.
Yeah. It is. But as you said earlier, even a team with a losing record, they can play spoiler.
Absolutely. They can upset a team that's fighting for a playoff spot and shift the entire balance of power in the league.
Right? You never know what might happen.
And then we have Valerie from Valor Morgulis going head-to-head with Felton, our team of the week.
Oh, that's a good one.
Valerie's currently in the lead, 239.3 points to Felton's 150.1. But this one could go either way, especially considering Felton's recent surge.
They've got that momentum, right?
Exactly. They're playing with this level of confidence that's almost contagious.
Yeah, you can feel it.
What's interesting about this matchup is that both Valerie and Felton are known for their strategic prowess.
Hmm.
They're both meticulous planners, always thinking a few steps ahead, and they're masters of the waiver wire.
It's like a chess match between two grandmasters, each move carefully calculated, every decision potentially game-changing.
Exactly. And these final days of Week 8,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be crucial for both of them.
No doubt.
A win here could solidify their position in the standings
Yeah.
and give them a psychological edge as we head towards the playoffs.
So much is riding on these last few days with all these close matchups. It's clear that the race for those top 8 playoff spots, it's going to be a photo finish.
Oh, yeah. The tension is palpable. You can almost feel the pressure these owners are under.
I know.
Every decision, every lineup change, every trade, it all has the potential to make or break their season.
And speaking of those crucial decisions, I think it's time we shift gears a bit and talk about strategy. We've been diving deep into the scores and the standings, but what about the brains behind those numbers? The moves these owners are making to propel their teams forward.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding the strategy behind those wins, that's what truly makes fantasy basketball fascinating.
Absolutely. So let's unpack some of the key strategic approaches we're seeing in the BFBA and how those strategies are shaping the league's landscape.
Okay, sounds good. One of the most common strategies in fantasy basketball
Yeah.
is what we call points chasing.
Points chasing.
It's all about maximizing your total points scored each week, regardless of the individual categories.
So owners who favor this approach, they're going to prioritize players who are high-volume scorers, the ones who consistently rack up points, even if they don't contribute much in other areas like rebounds or assists.
Exactly. They're looking for those explosive players who can put up big numbers on any given night.
Right. And who are some of the BFBA owners who embody this points-chasing philosophy?
Well, Damian, with his Evil Empire, is a prime example. He's always looking for those high-scoring superstars, those players who can single-handedly carry his team to victory.
Right.
He's not afraid to trade away players who are strong in other categories if they don't contribute enough points.
Makes sense. And looking at his track record, it's hard to argue with his results. He's consistently been a top contender in the league, and his points-chasing approach has played a big role in that success.
It has. Now, in contrast to points chasing, there's another strategy known as category dominance.
Category dominance.
This approach focuses on winning as many individual categories as possible each week, even if it means sacrificing some overall points.
Interesting. So instead of just focusing on players who score a lot of points, owners using this strategy will look for players who excel in specific categories, like rebounds, assists, steals, or blocks.
Exactly. They're building a well-rounded team, one that can dominate multiple categories and rack up wins, even if they're not always the highest scoring team.
It's a different way of thinking about it. And who comes to mind when you think of this category dominance approach in the BFBA?
Well, Cedric, the owner of NY Mindset of Fighters, is a master of this strategy.
Oh, interesting.
He meticulously studies player stats, looking for those hidden gems who might not be superstars, but who consistently contribute in specific categories.
He's like playing 3D chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
I like that. And it's paying off for him. His team is currently tied for second place, and it's largely due to his ability to dominate those often overlooked categories.
It's impressive. Now, these are just two of the many strategic approaches we're seeing in the BFBA. Some owners are more aggressive traders, constantly wheeling and dealing to upgrade their rosters. Others are more patient, waiting for the right opportunities to pounce.
Right. It's all about finding your style. And as we head towards the playoffs, these strategic decisions become even more critical.
Oh yeah, the stakes get higher.
Every trade, every waiver wire pickup, every lineup change, it can make the difference between a championship run and an early exit.
The pressure is on. So what's your take on all this? Do you think the points-chasing approach is more effective? Or is category dominance the way to go?
You know, that's the beauty of fantasy basketball. There's no single right answer. It's all about finding the approach that works best for you, your style of play, and your understanding of the game.
Right. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Exactly. And the BFBA is a perfect example of that diversity of thought. We've got owners who are risk takers, those who are calculated strategists, and everything in between.
It's what makes the league so dynamic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes for a dynamic and unpredictable league where any team can win on any given day.
And that's what keeps us coming back for more, week after week.
It sure does. Yeah. It's like, you're watching this laboratory experiment.
Right.
And each owner is testing out their hypotheses and seeing what sticks.
Right.
And the cool thing is, we get to learn from their successes and their failures.
Exactly. And we can apply these same principles to our own fantasy leagues, whether we're, seasoned veterans
Okay.
or just starting out. And isn't that like a big part of the appeal of fantasy sports? And
Yeah.
Like, you're an armchair GM making those tough decisions,
Yeah.
and then you get to see how they play out.
Exactly. It's that element of strategy, that ability to, shape your team's destiny.
Right.
It's what makes it so engaging. And the BFBA, they just take it to a whole other level with a competitive spirit and all those incredible personalities.
Absolutely. Speaking of those personalities, let's not forget about the conversations with the Commissioner series. I mean, these interviews, they've given us some amazing insights into the minds of these owners,
For sure.
their thought processes, motivations, and even their rivalries.
Right. That episode with Randy Arias, that was really revealing.
Yeah, it was.
He talked about the importance of, building a team culture, fostering that camaraderie among his players, and how that actually translates to success on the court.
It's fascinating how those intangible aspects, the stuff that goes beyond just pure stats and numbers, can play such a big role in
Absolutely.
fantasy basketball.
It does. It does. And I'm really looking forward to that upcoming interview with Kyle Knapp. He's known for being a bit of a maverick, a risk taker,
Yeah,
not afraid to shake things up.
I can't wait.
I'm curious to hear what he has to say about building a championship caliber team.
Me too. I have a feeling that episode is going to be full of surprises and some unconventional wisdom.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, as we get closer to the playoffs, those strategic stakes, they just get higher.
Right. The pressure intensifies.
Every move these owners make, it becomes magnified.
Yeah.
And the margin for error shrinks considerably.
There's less room for mistakes.
For sure. They have to be thinking about not just winning those individual matchups, but also positioning themselves for a deep playoff run.
Right. It's a long game.
It is. It is. It's this delicate balance between those short-term gains and long-term vision.
Right. Do you go for the quick win now, or do you set yourself up for success later on?
Exactly. Do you prioritize winning this week, even if it means sacrificing a potential advantage in the playoffs?
Right.
Or do you play the long game, making moves that might hurt you now, but could ultimately benefit you down the road?
Tough choices.
They are. They are. And these are the tough decisions that these BFBA owners are wrestling with right now.
I know. I can't even imagine the pressure.
It's fascinating to see how their personalities and their strategic approaches influence their choices.
It really is. So let's put you in the hot seat for a second.
Okay.
Imagine you're a BFBA owner with a playoff spot on the line.
Oh, man.
What strategic moves would you be making right now?
That's a tough one.
Would you be scouring the waiver wire for those hidden gems who could fill a specific need?
Yeah, maybe.
Or would you be working the phones, trying to pull off a blockbuster trade? That could shake up the entire league.
That's always an option.
Or would you be focusing on maximizing your starting lineup, making sure you've got your strongest players out there every night?
So many possibilities.
These are the questions that keep fantasy basketball owners up at night,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
constantly strategizing, analyzing, second-guessing their every decision.
It's part of the fun, though.
It is. It is.
It's what makes it so addictive. It's that constant pursuit of optimization,
Right.
that never-ending quest to outsmart your opponents and build that perfect team.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the BFBA, we want to leave you with a final thought-provoking challenge.
Okay, I like it.
Take everything you've learned today, all those insights, all those little strategic nuggets, and apply them to your own fantasy league.
Put that knowledge to work.
Think like a BFBA owner.
Right.
Analyze your roster, identify your strengths and weaknesses, and then make those bold moves that could propel your team to the top of the standings.
Don't be afraid to take risks.
Exactly.
Remember, fantasy basketball, it's more than just a game. It's a test of knowledge, strategy, and intuition.
Right.
And with a little bit of luck, it's your chance to experience that thrill of victory
Right.
alongside your favorite players.
Absolutely. So keep following the BFBA podcast. For more updates, analysis, and these deep dives into the world of fantasy basketball, we'll be here every step of the way, breaking down the strategies, the upsets, the triumphs, and those heartbreaks that make this league so captivating.
It's a wild ride, that's for sure.
It is.
And until next time, keep playing smart, keep those trades coming, and most importantly, keep ballin'.
Keep ballin'.